For this next caption contest, I picked this picture that you see from the Riverwalk in Milwaukee of me. This is last winter on one of my many walks, hanging out with the Bronze Fonz statue, which is kind of a landmark here in Milwaukee. And if you don't know who the Fonz is, he was a major character on the television show Happy Days. Here you see him depicted by Henry Winkler. Back in the day, he was kind of a cool guy who wore a leather jacket and drove a motorcycle and did all sorts of things like hitting the jukebox and making it play. And there's so much more to be told about the story, but I'm going to jump right in. I also wanted to show you one other picture. This is Henry Winkler, the actor who played the Fonz, or Arthur Fonzarelli. When the statue was first dedicated here in Milwaukee on the Riverwalk, you can tell how pleased he is about that. He actually is apparently a very nice guy. Fonzie is a nice but tough guy as a character. And so it's, kind of a cool shot there. So let's jump right in. Here's a good caption. This one came in quite early. Sadler just jumped the shark and lost all credibility in the world of family-friendly sitcom philosophy. So if you don't know this expression, jump the shark, which we use so often these days, that actually came from Happy Days. And it was Fonzie who jumped the shark, quite literally. He was water skiing, and they had this stunt where he jumped over a shark. And at that point in time, people were like, come on, this is too much. And so that made its way into our pop culture. So saying that, I'm hanging out with Fonzie, jumping the shark, it's kind of a nice meta way of bringing things in. Here's another good one. Not quite sure what to make of it, but it's kind of a cool thing anyway. Philosophanzi. As opposed to philosopher. Is Fonzarella a real philosopher? He certainly had a lot of opinions on things if you watch the show, some of which is good advice, some of which perhaps not. And so it's kind of a cool idea. And then we get to some versus things, right? You got two different people in the picture. So one could be one thing, one could be the other. I don't know which one is supposed to be which, so you have to decide that. First one is realism versus idealism. Is it that I'm the idealistic one and Arthur Fonzarella, who is, much more of a working guy, hanging out in the pizza place or wherever it was, getting into his scrapes, is more realistic? Or is it that the statue is idealized and I'm the one who's more realistic? I don't know. But here's another one. Me versus my idealized vision of myself. Now, this is kind of funny because, I grew up in the 70s and the 80s when Happy Days was running. And I will tell you that there were quite a few of us who did take Fonzie as kind of a role model, And so I don't know that I would actually call him an idealized version of myself, but, by the time I was in high school, I wasn't a greaser, but I was a burnout wearing a leather jacket, getting into tiffs with the jocks and all sorts of other things as well. So it's not as far off as you might imagine. Here's another one. When popular culture meets philosophical rigor, I assume I'm the one who's representing philosophical rigor in that case, but I'm also somebody who very much enjoys popular culture, especially those elements of it based here in the city that I love, Milwaukee. Is there any philosophical rigor to Happy Days? Perhaps not. I don't know. Maybe somebody put out one of those Happy Days and philosophy books by this point in time. I haven't researched it, but it'd be well worth checking out. Or maybe there's some interesting blog entries out there about Happy Days and philosophy. Now we start getting into philosophy proper. Man of gold meets a man of bronze. Plato's Republic, circa 350 BC, colorized, right? So presumably Fonzie is the man of bronze and I'm the man of gold since I'm a philosopher. And if you don't know Plato's references here, so there's the three races, or maybe 4 races, depending on how you do it. So there's the gold, the silver, and then the bronze, perhaps iron as well. And the craftspeople, the people who do their work with their hands, are the bronze. The people who rule, because they are philosophers who have gone through a really rigorous education and are devoted to the good of the city, are the people of gold. And this is part of a myth. So it's kind of cool that he brings, we can think about it this way. Pop culture is a whole bunch of myths, and Plato is telling us that in his ideal city, which is a fictional thing, we're going to tell the people this great lie that make up this myth about metals in ourselves. Now we get to some stuff where it's actually Fonzie and what he might be saying. So this is good. How you doing, Mrs. Cunningham? Whoa, don't touch the leather, Greg. You touch the leather, you touch the Fonz. And that's really quite good. That is, in fact, a line that was said by Fonzie, and the leather is something essential to him, right? Mrs. Cunningham was one of the main characters in the show as well. Fonzie hung out at their place a lot of the time. Here's another one that gets a little bit more philosophical. You want to know the thing in itself? Absolum, absum mundo. Having trouble pronouncing it there. Gregorelli then snapped his fingers and thumps the Critique of Pure Reason, which would be, of course, like the jukebox. It turns into the Phenomenology of Spirit, which somehow became magically revised by his gesticulation. So here we're collapsing me and the Fonz together and talking about some characteristic things that he would do. Here's another one along these lines. This is a line that Fonzie would say: "You ain't nobody until you do what you want." Arthur Herbert Fonzarelli. And then it's counterposed to this Schopenhauer line: "A man can do what he wants, but not want what he wants." So, we're starting to get a little bit deeper into the metaphysics of the will and human nature with this. All right, so last one. Je pense, donc je suis, cool. Right? Somebody wrote that, and then Tim Keefe came in and said, "Je bronze, donc je suis," you mean. So bronze would be, it was kind of funny because that means you tan, therefore you are, right? But he's referring to the statue itself. Being bronzed means you're somebody. And so I think that's kind of a cool idea. We'll do more of these if you want to get in on the next caption contest. Well, keep an eye on my social media and my YouTube channel because I post them. I'll think about good picks to post and provoke people into writing these sorts of things. And that's all for this one.